Welcome to Nolan Knows. It's time for the lightning round. First on our list is Secretary John Kerry. He was forced to fly commercial again. You know, we're $17.5 trillion in debt and going way deeper. Maybe it's a good idea he flies commercial. Maybe he should do it more. Next on the list, the wild markets. Boy, the stock market has been swinging up and down 200 and 300 points at a time. The fear here is what's going on in Europe. They're slowing down. If they slow down, they buy fewer of our exports. If that happens, our economy, which is kind of bouncing along on the bottom, is going to slip into recession. I understand the fear. Neil Patrick Harris is going to be a host for the Oscars. It was on his bucket list. Sounds like a lot of fun. Give you an idea how old I am. I thought Johnny Carson and Bob Hope did the best job, but I'm sure he'll do fine. Next on the list, college students claim they were threatened for handing out constitutions. These are public universities. These are taxpayer-funded universities. Why should anybody get in trouble for passing out what is the law of the land, the U.S. Constitution? I encourage them to keep doing it. In fact, I wish they'd do it everywhere. More Americans need to understand the document and what's in it. Good for them. Next on our list, Governor Christie from New Jersey was asked about running for the U.S. Senate. He said he'd rather die. You know what? So would I. That is just the most boring, slow-moving body in government I've ever seen. Next on the list, a 113-year-old woman had to fake her age to get on Facebook. You know, 100 years ago, she probably would have had to fake her age to get on it too, but it would be from the other side. She'd be just too young. My God, 113, God bless her. In a California town, the police are under fire for raffling off guns. I don't know why anybody would get upset about that. If the raffle raises money and people use the guns to defend themselves, and it is part of the Second Amendment, you know, the right to own and bear arms, I don't really have a problem with it. Next on the list, new early voting restrictions have little support among Americans. It's the Republicans mostly who are trying to do this. They're trying to shorten that window. I actually agree with them. I think that you shouldn't need 3 or 4 weeks to get down there and vote. 1 or 2 days ought to be enough time. If it's important enough, you'll do it. Next on the list, the Treasury acts to stop overseas tax inversions. This is where a small company in another country kind of swallows up one of our companies, and they do it because the corporate tax rate is lower. If the Treasury really wants to stop this, they should stop the corporate tax. Corporations don't pay it anyway. We do when we buy the products they produce. This segment of the program is called If They Were Here. For me this week, it's Milton Friedman. I learned more about economics watching Milton Friedman on television, watching his videos and reading his writings than I did in all of my years in college. He had a way about him of communicating the benefits of liberty and free market and that laissez-faire attitude toward the economy that nobody else seemed to be able to teach. And he did it without being confrontational. He had a kind of a paternalistic way about him so that you would sit and listen and be entertained. He even had a PBS show. And let's face it, economics doesn't sound like the most interesting topic in the world, and yet this show was successful, had lots of listeners, lots of viewers. It's because of the way he taught economics. If you're not familiar with Milton Friedman, do a web search. Go find the guy. And if he were here, I'd have to thank him for doing such a fabulous job, not just because of what he understood about the free market, not just because of his knowledge of economics, but I would thank him because he used his communication skills so beautifully to teach us about the benefits of liberty. Go look him up. Go watch his videos. It's Milton Friedman. It's time now for the story of the week. Sadly, the story of the week again this week is Ebola. You know, the CDC gets tens of billions of dollars every year, and their job, their raison d'etre, their reason to exist is to prevent pandemics and epidemics from going across the country and killing American citizens. That's why they were created, and that's their task. Sadly, they were caught flat-footed. In spite of all the billions of dollars they get, they didn't find a way to prevent Ebola from coming here, nor have they found a way to cure it. The problem here is that the federal government gives them money. They literally can demand their money from taxpayers. When you don't earn the money, you tend to be a little bit looser with your rules on how you spend it. For example, and I'm not making this up, they spent money on finding out why some lesbians are fat. They spent money on trying to find out why fat women don't get as many dates. They spent money trying to find out why young fruit flies, male fruit flies, are more attracted to younger female fruit flies. They spent money on why monkeys that sling dung are better communicators than monkeys that don't. And there's a whole slew, millions and millions of your tax dollars worth of studies that they were sinking your money in instead of looking for ways to prevent pandemics from spreading. The problem here is the big government aspect. They should be getting their money by going to rich billionaires and millionaires and corporations and saying, here's what we have given ourselves the task of doing, and here's the job we're doing. Because I don't seriously think anybody would give them money to find out about the male fruit flies going after younger fruit flies. I don't think anybody would volunteer to give them money about the fat lesbians and fat women and dung slinging monkeys. They'd have to earn it. They'd have to show that they've done something. If that had happened, I think we'd be in a much better place. This segment of the program is called Missed in the Media. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has decided to elevate animal cruelty to the same level as they do kidnapping and murder. If you think that's overreacting and overdoing it, I do as well. But this all stems from us giving animals rights. You see, when somebody abuses their dog or their cat, we want to punish them for it because we love our dogs and our cats, but we really don't have the right to do that. You see, the dog or the cat or the squirrel, it's theirs, just like their car is theirs, just like their carpeting in their house is theirs. And if they want to abuse those things, they have the right to. Now, we have recourse. If your neighbor is abusing his animals, you can shun him. You can tell the rest of the neighborhood. The grocer can stop selling him food. We can make life miserable for him, but the government shouldn't be writing laws to punish him. The dog or the cat is his. And I'm an animal lover. But what happens when you start granting animals rights is they go to extremes. You've drawn a line in the sand. You've given an animal a right, and now the next thing you know, somebody is trying to create a law that says they have personhood. Don't believe me? Right now in New York, there is a lawyer that is fighting in court to get personhood achieved for an orangutan. Animals don't have rights. Animal cruelty laws should disappear. And the FBI should take animal cruelty off their list. Maybe they ought to go looking for terrorists. I think that's more important.